I'm Kara, and welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. I believe that all of us possess unique gifts and talents that allow us to serve the world and our own growth in the highest possible way. Our lives are an expression of our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And here, we will explore businesses, thought leaders, and topics designed to inspire, helping propel your own growth so you can live your best and most purposeful life. Welcome to Soul Inspiring Business.
Welcome back to the Soul Inspiring Business Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Chaffin, Donofrio, and welcome. If you're a first-time listener, I am glad you're here. And if you've been listening to us for a long time, I appreciate you tuning in. And I'd ask either one of you in those groups to, if you love the show, if there's something that really resonates with you, please just give it a rating, review, and as always, share with somebody that you think might love it as well. So today's show is a solo show, and I just got back from an incredible retreat with my business coach, Jen Cadmore. You've heard me talk about her if you've been on the show or been listening to the show for a while. And she had a retreat out in Scottsdale, Arizona. So just got back and was starting to just think about, gosh, the road, the business journey road, all the things that I wish I could go back and maybe do differently. First of all, I should say I'm very glad to be in the place that I am. And I am a believer that the road and the things that have, not gone as planned, obviously are making you who you are today. But that being said, there are some things that I might go back and tell my younger self so that I could maybe get here a little quicker. Let's say it that way. So I thought, well, I will share with you what these things are. And I just started jotting down notes. I was actually going to do the 5 things that I'd like to tell you, but I ended up with 6. So we'll do 6 things that I would go back and tell my younger self. And because I think that with this knowledge is, the ability, and hopefully I can learn some of these lessons, because sometimes we know what to do, but we may just need a little kick, a little jump start, or a reminder of these tried and true things. So, and these are things that not only ring true, I think, for me and my own personal business journey, but also for many of the interviews that we've done and the high-level entrepreneurs that we interview. These are things that I think they've communicated in different ways. So just kind of lumping it all together. So I'm going to start down the list with the first one. And that is that understanding that fear is normal. How many times have you thought, you have a new idea and then this feeling knots up in your stomach or in your throat, and you feel like, oh gosh, I can't do that. Or well, what happens if, when you start going down the list of basically the worst possible scenario of what can unfold from that decision, right? And so, of course, then what happens next? Well, we stay stuck. We stay stuck in this indecision, or we stay stuck in our old patterns because we're afraid to do something different. And what I would say is that all the great entrepreneurs and leaders that I've ever met all say that they still get scared. If they're stepping on a stage, they still have an element of fear. There's still a little bit of, what's going to happen when they get on that stage, when they go into that pitch, whatever it is, right? But the people that are succeeding at a high level do it anyway. So you feel the feelings of fear. Of course, you take whatever elements of, okay, is this something I can legitimately do? Is this something that is going to further my growth? You go through the logical checklist, so to speak, of, okay, should I move forward with this idea? But the greats do it anyway. They feel the fear and do it anyway. So if there was one thing, I know that I've sometimes been held back in making a hiring decision or spending money on something that I knew was actually going to get a bigger reward, but it felt really scary because I'd never been in that place before. And so the biggest thing to understand is that fear is normal, and how to talk yourself through to make a good decision so that once you have clarity, you just feel the feelings and fear and move through it anyway. The second, and this will obviously resonate with many of our longtime listeners, but is to trust your intuition. So many times we have the hit, we have the nudge, we know in our heart what the right decision is, but we somehow convince ourselves that we're wrong. We roll through a list of all the reasons that it's not going to work, or that it's not the right thing, or what have you. Or we just don't listen to the little nudges. The idea to just, post that post on Instagram that you feel, post the message that you think people need to hear. And we let the moment go by. And while I am a believer that all unfolds for your highest good and a reason, I do think that there are missed opportunities, that we are given nudges, that God gives us these hits. And when we don't follow them, we may take longer to get somewhere, or we may end up in a different direction because we didn't follow the intuition and the nudge. So if you haven't listened to some of our other episodes on intuition, this is a good reminder to go back and listen to it. But I really think that intuition is very simple. It is learning how to quiet the mind, learning how to quiet the ego self that sometimes is always talking to us. And when I notice that voice, that it's not the God voice, it's it's always negative. That voice that's always saying, oh no, you're not good enough. Oh no, you can't do that. That voice, when we learn how to quiet that voice and learn how to listen, there's a discernment that unfolds where then you can feel, and sometimes intuition can be words and a message. Sometimes it's, and more often than not, it is truly just a feeling of this is the right thing for me. This is the right next step. I have to follow this. I have no clue why. It's really funny. I actually was just listening, and this just happened today. I don't know. This was not on script, but I'll share it anyway. I was scrolling through, I think it was TikTok, and I see this video. It was by Candace Owens. She's talking about a situation exactly like this. She said for some reason, she just absolutely knew she had to be in London. She didn't know why. And it was like, she just was like, I have to be there in a week or 2 weeks or whatever the time frame was. But it was a somewhat quick turnaround. Maybe it was even like a few days. And you know what she did? She followed the nudge. She said, I have no clue why, but I feel this pull that I can't even explain. It's not explainable, but I just know in my heart of hearts, I have to be in London. Well, she books the tickets. She goes. And on that trip is when she meets her husband. He happened to be at a talk or a conference or something that they had organized. And I don't know why, but that little scenario that I just heard kind of perfectly explains that. It is sometimes you don't know why you're being pulled in one direction, but you just have you honor yourself. You're honoring yourself by trusting what it is that you're receiving. And I think that the more we learn that discernment, the more we learn how to trust ourselves, the more led we will become as well. So number 3 is it's okay not to be liked by everyone. I feel like this is one of those lessons that just becomes more and more clear as we get older. But it's really true. Not everyone, the whole world can't be your people, And when you are being, the right people will connect with you. The right people will connect with you when you're showing up authentically as you are. Now, this doesn't mean always to put out all your, political posts and all that kind of stuff, right? That's not necessarily, or divisive language or things that are going to divide people. But I think it's okay to be true to who we are. I think it's okay to speak our truth as we see it and trust and know and believe that the right people will resonate with that message and will find you, because you're not a one size fits all. By design, God designed you as a unique soul that has a unique gift that only you have. And I think the more self-awareness we have on what are those gifts and how do we show up to use them and share with others, knowing and standing true into who you are and who you are not, who you are meant to serve and who you are not meant to serve, I think that is a good thing. And even with clients, knowing that, in my world, right, some people want a discount, some people want this, right? And knowing where your value is and what you're willing to stand for, what you're willing to say yes to, and what you're willing to say no to. And the no can almost be more important than the yes. Number 4 is, and this was actually the last show, was your business can be your ministry. And what I mean by that is really ministry as I see it. It's a way to serve others. It's a way that you can show up and be a gift for others and meet them where they are and help them where they need to go. It's a service-oriented approach to really any business, to life. And so allowing your business to be that, because people need love right now. People need your love. And I think that the more we can show up and just minister that, be there for people, help them navigate whatever it is they're going through in a way that obviously is respectful to your own boundaries too, but knowing that your business has that potential. And I believe when God is using you in your business to serve other people, to make a difference for your clients, for your community, that you just can't help but be successful, because you've got, you got God backing you when you're leaning into that. Number 5 is making space for pause. Now, this is a tough one for any driven type A entrepreneur or business owner, or for many of us, leading lives of, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I am a business owner, I've got the podcast, right? And I'm sure that you have a million things you could rattle off that you're working on and that fill your days. And so it's really easy to just continue in that race. But I think one of the biggest gifts is to make space for pause, is to check in to see, okay, if I've made my goals and what I want to do, if I want to be here, having quarterly check-ins to say, where am I on that? It doesn't have to be so overly complicated. It doesn't have to be a 20-page business plan, and quarterly check-ins may sound, for somebody that doesn't like to plan. But I think a simple business plan, and when I say simple, a simple business plan can be 1 to 2 pages. It is a direction of where you're going, what you want to accomplish, and then quite simply, it is just the actions that you're going to take to get there on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly basis. And so the check-in is really just coming back to where it was you said you wanted to go on a quarterly basis and see where you are. Are there adjustments that need to be made? Are there places where you're veering off course, where if you can catch it at the quarterly check-in versus the annual, or longer, then you're going to be much better off in terms of, and not just for money or clients or all of that, but also what are the larger parts of your plan, how are they working? How are you showing up for family? Are there some adjustments or tweaks that need to be made to make sure that you can be home for dinner every night with the kids, or maybe a few nights a week, right? Where are the things that you've identified as priorities, whether it's your partner, your family, your faith, your fitness, your health? Where are the things, the business, of course, but what are the other things too that you've said are important? And are you giving them the time that they deserve too? So taking space for pause. Now, I know personally I love going on retreats like the one I just came from. They're a really good reflection time for me. I've also typically will do because I love the spa, I will do a spa day for myself, and I'll do a quarterly check-in that way. I'll go into the meditation room or the quiet room, and I'll bring my books and my journal, and and I'll just kind of check in on, is there anything that I can adjust at this point? And even if you're not even doing quarterly check-ins, just making time for that space, for the headspace to just be still for a moment, I think is super important. And if you don't have the money to go to the spa, going to nature, going on a walk, there are plenty of parks you can go to and really be. And that's really the point of that exercise. And then the last one, number 6, is to hire sooner than you think. When you are growing a business, I know I still sometimes have struggled with this, but one of the challenges is we look at payroll, marketing, all these things, we look at them as expenses, right? And instead of looking at them as investments. Now, one exercise that, if you haven't done, is a really good exercise to do, is calculating your income per hour. And that is quite simply taking the amount of money you earn, dividing it by, I think it's 1,800 hours, because that's approximately how many hours you'll work if you work accounting for vacations and things like that per year. And you divide by 1,800 and you'll get a number, and that's your income per hour. And then anything that, it's a good filter to understand, am I doing in the tasks that I'm doing every day? If I am, writing the addresses on an envelope, is that something that I could hire somebody at $20 an hour to do for me? Because that may not be the highest and best use of my time. My highest and best use might be out networking with different, property owners, or trying to find a client for one of our listings that we're selling, right? So we have to look at, what are your high income activities, and learning how to outsource the things that you shouldn't really be doing. I think most of us, if you ask any business owner, they probably are doing certain things that they shouldn't. So do the exercise. It's an eye-opening one. And know that when you have the right person, and when I say right person, I mean sometimes, you may get the wrong person. And if they're not helping you buy back your time, then it's time to let them go. But if you get the right person in your world, it is an investment, because that person will help you leverage and help you make more money. And so the sooner you can start to think as those expenses and change that into investments, you'll be amazed at how exponential the growth really can be. So with that, I am going to wish you a beautiful day, night, morning, whenever you're listening to this. This was fun. I enjoyed sharing this with you. Would love to hear what you think. And until next time, thank you for being alongside of us on this awesome journey, the soul inspiring business journey. Bye for now.
Loved being here with you today, and would love to connect with you more over on Instagram. My handle is linked to the show notes, or you can just type in @Chaffin Donofrio. And I have something special for you as a free gift, my dynamic life journal. This special book has the power to really help you live a soul-inspired life. Go to freegiftfromkara.com. Easy to remember, freegiftfromkara.com. Until next time, beautiful people, sending all my love.